My name is Robert Brown, and I'm 55 years old. I'm currently working as a mediocre office worker at a certain company. 30 years ago, I had a beloved family. However, my wife, Mary, left me, and I also lost custody of my son, Michael. It would have been better if Mary had gotten custody, but that wasn't the case. So, what are we gonna do about Michael? Well, that is. Mary's expression clouded over. Michael is still only 4 years old. He's young, and I think it's better for him to be with his mom. Of course, I don't want to be apart from him either. But thinking about Michael, I believe being with you is better. I thought Mary loved Michael from the bottom of her heart. But Mary didn't give an immediate answer. Of course, Michael will come with me. Instead of saying that, she lowered her gaze and said, "Sorry. I don't think I can take care of Michael by myself. Could you raise him?" A few seconds later, Mary gave this answer. The reason for our divorce was my incompetence. I was always a failure. I was almost always at the bottom in sales, and on top of that, my naturally sloppy nature caused frequent document errors. I tried my best in my own way. Still, my manager was always yelling at me. "Come here for a second." Yes, as usual, I was called out by my manager. "Hey Robert, you didn't get a single contract this morning again, did you? Haven't I always told you? Get the contract even if it kills you. Don't you understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'll work harder. You always apologize, but I don't know if you're really trying or not, because your sales never improve. I'm sorry. I think I'm trying." "What do you mean, think? If it doesn't show in the results, it's meaningless." "I'm sorry. Damn, you're just a paycheck thief. We're not running a charity here. Just because you're a full-time employee doesn't mean you won't get fired. You might think that'll never happen, but for you, it's not impossible. Don't get too comfortable in your position." Even though I didn't mean it that way, it seemed like I was seen that way if I didn't get results. Results over process. As long as I was getting paid, that was only natural. Still, I felt frustrated that my efforts were never recognized. Swallowing this feeling, I had to apologize again today. "I'm sorry. I'll work harder, so please forgive me. You always say the same thing. Instead of complaining, go get a contract. Stop wasting time and go." "Yes, another time. Hey, the estimate is wrong. Who did this?" "Sorry. It was probably me." "You again. You're at the bottom in sales, and you can't even do this right. You're useless. At least do this properly." "You're right. I'll correct it right away." "Of course. Hurry up, you piece of junk." Every day, I was yelled at by the manager for some reason or another. That was my daily life. Being scared isn't enough. Get results. That's the only way you can truly apologize. If I could do that, it wouldn't be a struggle. I said words in my heart that I couldn't say to the manager. "You're right. I'll work harder," but I knew it was my fault. So, I could only apologize in the usual way, feeling sorry for myself as the manager yelled at me. Even with all this, I didn't give up because the people around me were all good folks. Except for the manager, the employees and colleagues never looked down on me or blamed me. They always laughed it off, saying, "Got yelled at again?" They knew that sometimes effort alone isn't enough. Maybe because they had their own struggles, they never blamed me for what I couldn't do, only criticizing the manager's harsh attitude. And this colleague, who always went home with me, was the same. "You got a good chewing out from the manager again today. Even though it's my fault, getting yelled at like that brings me down." I wish his voice wasn't so hard on the head and ears. Yeah, that voice is tiring. And he focuses on you for mistakes everyone makes occasionally. Did you do something to him? This colleague, who always listened to me, would tease me like that about getting scolded. Well, I have no idea what that is. Well, Robert doesn't talk back, so it's probably easy to pick on him. I know. You should talk back a little. That's pointless. Don't you get that it'll just add fuel to the fire? But unless you quit or transfer, things won't change. Unless the boss quits. Don't talk about such impossible things. Sighing, I replied, sorry. But we all wish it would happen, so it just slipped out. My colleague apologized. This was a conversation we've had countless times. Hope it doesn't rain. The white shirt that Mary irons for me every day is starting to get damp with sweat. In this humid season, rain would make things worse. I liked the refreshing feeling after the rain, but I still hated the hassle of using an umbrella or getting wet. The morning sky was still summer blue, but now it's filled with dark clouds. Thanks for always listening to me. No problem. I'm just worried because the boss targets you too much. Yeah, but it's partly my fault too. Thanks, as always. I was really grateful to him for always listening to my complaints about the boss, even though he always said unrealistic things. When I thanked him again, he turned his face away, embarrassed. Really, it's fine. But if it gets too bad, you should think about what to do. Well, I'm heading this way. All right, see you. Take care. See you tomorrow. Don't overthink it. I know. Since we weren't heading in the same direction, we parted near the company. I think I'm blessed with colleagues. But my performance has been at the bottom since I was a new employee. I always thought I wasn't cut out for this job, and of course, no one would follow someone doing sales with that mindset. Still, I tried my best to consider the other person and work hard. Yeah, we can't spend much. Plus, we don't want to do anything too new that might damage our image. Then I think this plan would be good. I explained the plan clearly, but the client's expression remained grim. Well, I don't think we'll go with your company this time. Your proposal doesn't seem better than what we already have. I see. I'm sorry I couldn't be of help. If you have any issues, please don't hesitate to consult with us. Most of my pitches ended like this. I can't count the times I've thought about quitting. But ever since I was young, they said we were in a job ice age, and it feels like it's only gotten worse. In such a situation, I couldn't think of changing jobs, especially since I don't have any skills worth selling. So even if I wasn't cut out for it, I had to cling to this job. I have things I need to protect. Thinking of Mary and my son Michael, strength naturally filled my body. All right, let's do our best tomorrow. But what awaited me was the harsh reality. Sorry, I'll do better next time. You keep saying that, but your salary never goes up. Michael's gonna need more money soon, right? Why isn't your salary increasing? Well, that's because Mary is strict when it comes to money. It's probably natural, but I couldn't bear it. I'm doing my best. But if the results don't come, there's nothing I can do, right? I'm putting in my effort. So please stop blaming me like that. But at this rate, we won't be able to save for Michael's future or for our retirement. Even with my part-time job, saving anything extra is tough. This life is making me anxious. Aren't you? I know we're living on the edge. And I'm grateful to Mary for working part-time while taking care of Michael. Yeah, it's my fault. But what else can I do? Mary's relentless gaze and words pierced my chest. Let's work harder together from now on as a family. We can do this, right? I expected her to sigh deeply and end the conversation like always. But this time was different. I'm tired. I don't think I can do this anymore. I used to think I could support us with my job. I was reliable enough to be a part-time leader, and I thought we could manage with a kid. But reality is different. With a small child, no matter how capable I am, I can hardly work any hours. And you're still the same. I'm exhausted. I want to quit. Please, let's separate. Her painful plea left me speechless. I didn't realize Michael, in his pajamas, had witnessed the whole exchange. And so we returned to the beginning. Michael came to live with me afterward. When Mary left the house, I asked Michael, "Hey Michael, Mom's leaving the houses. She wants to go alone. Is it okay if you stay with Dad?" Then Michael, with his big round eyes, said without crying, "Yeah, I want to stay with you, Dad. You always work hard for us, and you're kind. I don't like Mom because she's always angry. Thank you, Michael. Let's work hard together." As I hugged Michael, tears streamed down my face. I knew it was a little lie from Michael, trying his best. But the truth that Mary wouldn't come back didn't change. "Are you leaving, Mom?" "I'm sorry. Mom, Dad will be lonely. Please don't make him sad." "Michael, you're so kind. But I'm sorry. Mom is really tired." "I'm really sorry." Mary had shown a brave face when talking to me, but she was still just a mother. In front of Michael, her true feelings overflowed. After hugging for a while, Mary pulled her suitcase and left. I'll never forget Michael's tear-filled eyes as he watched her leave. Since then, I have tried my best to be a good father. Even before, I helped with baths and putting him to bed when I got home. On my days off, I took him to parks, pools, insect museums, and dinosaur museums, all his favorites. I did it all to see Michael's happy face and excited reactions. But now, I could see that I was pushing him too hard. I could tell from his occasional expressions. "Dad, look, there used to be such big dinosaurs. It's amazing." Even after Mary left, Michael kept up his cheerful demeanor. "That's right. What would you do if dinosaurs still existed?" I don't know." Seeing Michael's unchanged smile, I vowed even more not to make him feel lonely or trouble him with money issues like Mary had. However, reality wasn't that simple. Without being able to rely on my parents, I realized the difficulty of working and raising a child alone. After much thought, I decided to place Michael in a facility. For the next 30 years, I lived with regret. Of course, I never remarried, thinking of Michael every day. I couldn't bring myself to find out where Michael was or what he was doing, though I could easily do so. I couldn't bear to imagine what face Michael would make if he saw me. "I'm the worst parent ever," I said, as tears welled up. Even though I was the one who let him go, I couldn't stop thinking about Michael. At work, people began to distance themselves from me as I spoke less. Some still talked to me, but I couldn't respond normally like before. Feeling the concern of those around me, I continued working in a state where I didn't know if I was alive or dead. I often got scolded by drivers for crossing streets absent-mindedly, but I couldn't stop apologizing to Michael in my heart and blaming myself. One summer day, I was walking more absent-mindedly than usual and didn't notice something falling. Suddenly, I heard someone shout, "Watch out," and my vision went dark. I vaguely remembered hearing men shouting, "That fell," and "Call an ambulance," along with women screaming and a crowd murmuring. After that, I drifted into a dreamlike state. In my dream, I was at the park where I used to play with Michael and Mary, and we were all smiling. We were making flower crowns in a field of clover. We were all laughing. Mary leaving me and giving up on Michael, it was just a dream. I'm so glad to wake up from such a terrible dream. I really was happy all along. We were all laughing together in the evening light. Mary said, "Michael, you're so handy, just like my mom," as she happily patted Michael's head. Michael, looking embarrassed, said, "Really?" while swaying under Mary's hand. Michael likes reading picture books, is handy, and kind. He can be anything in the future. "He's my proud son," I said, ruffling his hair. We talked and laughed, enjoying a happy day in the dream. I thought it was reality. Then I lost consciousness for a while. When I woke up, the severe pain in my head and body made me want to scream. I couldn't open my eyes or understand what had happened to my body. I could only sense that I was lying somewhere, and the surrounding voices were extremely urgent. "Doctor, the patient's vitals, BP 100/58, heart rate rising. It's critical. We need to test and stabilize immediately." After the nurse said that, I lost consciousness again. A while later, I woke up. Where am I? A white ceiling with irregular patterns. My head throbbed with pain. Despite my confusion, I tried to lift my head and sit up. Ouch! And why can't I move my body? My body felt as heavy as lead, sticking to the bed, refusing to move. As I struggled to get up, a dark shadow appeared on my blanket. "Oh, you're awake." That's good. A young doctor, who seemed genuinely relieved, appeared before me. Feeling awkward in front of such a well-mannered young doctor, I felt uneasy. Maybe it was because of the strange dream I had. I felt inexplicably embarrassed. What happened to me? Just waking up, I couldn't remember anything from before. Without showing any sign of impatience, the young doctor continued, "Mr. Brown, you were caught in a major accident while walking near a construction site. It was a severe accident. If you had been hit just a little differently, you might not have survived." His calm words sent a chill down my spine. "I see. I survived thanks to you, right, doctor? Well, it's more accurate to say you were lucky. The part of your brain that was damaged and the subsequent oxygen supply situation were critical, but just barely enough to save your life. It was a race against time. The ambulance arrived quickly and brought you here just in time. Really, it was fortunate." The young doctor looked at me with genuine happiness in his eyes. His gaze, almost like he was looking at someone he loved, made my heart skip a beat. It reminded me of the mistaken dream I had earlier. I had been living with deep regret for 30 years. Asking, "Is it okay if you stay with Dad?" Only to give up after 3 months and place Michael in a facility. While blaming Mary in my heart, I was no different. The moment I realized I couldn't handle it, I entrusted him to the facility staff. I couldn't balance work and child rearing. For 30 years, whenever guilt threatened to crush me, I repeated this to myself. But deep inside, I always regretted it. Seeing the young doctor looking at me with kind eyes, I began to spill my true feelings. I wish I had tried harder. But I made an unforgivable mistake in the past. Maybe it was the comforting atmosphere the doctor exuded. I couldn't stop talking. He smiled gently and asked, "If you don't mind sharing, what kind of mistake did you make?" His kind voice prompted me to pour my heart out to this young man, who was likely at least 20 years my junior. A long time ago, I let my beloved son go and placed him in a facility. After my wife left us, I intended to raise Michael with all the love he deserved. I wanted to make up for his mother's absence by showering him with affection. But I was naive. I knew that Michael cried himself to sleep and was sad when he was alone. I knew he seemed down at daycare and that he held back what he wanted to say. Yet, he never said anything to me. I was too busy to care for his mental well-being and couldn't avoid coming home late from work. Leaving young Michael home alone and then doing necessary chores after a tiring workday made me unable to smile at him. Despite that, Michael always showed me a cheerful smile, and I felt so guilty. As I suddenly started confessing upon waking up, even I wondered what I was doing. Yet, the doctor silently listened. Taking advantage of his kindness, I continued to share my regrets. I couldn't afford a babysitter. There were no facilities nearby that stayed open until night. In that situation, I had no choice but to leave him at a facility. I kept telling myself it was for his safety and well-being, but deep down, I knew nothing was lonelier than being separated from his parent. I kept blaming myself. I couldn't do my job well, and I couldn't raise my only beloved son. I thought I was such an unworthy and heartless person. My face was a mess of tears by now. The doctor, still listening, looked down and quietly said, "I see." Before I knew it, it was just the two of us in the hospital room. I feel so guilty towards Michael. Not knowing where he is, I came this far without seeing him for 30 years. I'm a failure as a father. I don't think so. How can you say that? Even today, thinking only about the son I let go, I didn't notice something falling and ended up like this. How foolish. I cried like a child. When I glanced at him, the doctor in front of me was quietly shedding tears. His expression was so deeply moving that I couldn't look away. Could it be? Could it be that the dream I had earlier? As I stared at his face in shock, he lifted his tear-streaked eyes and said, "Don't you recognize me yet? Wait, is it really you, Michael?" When I first woke up, I was in a panic, trying to understand the situation. After that, I was so overwhelmed with emotions that I didn't notice. I looked at his face closely. I didn't even need to check his name tag. The beautiful almond-shaped eyes, the straight nose, the friendly smile that made his eyes crinkle, the white, beautiful skin, the lips that looked just like Mary's, and the 3 moles in the same places as when he was a child. How did I not realize it? He looked a bit different from the Michael I had always imagined, but he was unmistakably Michael. "Michael, it's really you?" I said, slowly turning my body and trying to lower my legs. "Don't move yet," Michael said, rushing to my bedside and gently hugging me. "Dad." "Michael, I'm so sorry for everything. I couldn't bring myself to see you after all this time. I could have easily found out where you went after leaving the facility, but I was just a coward. I'm so sorry for leaving you alone. I'm so sorry for being such a terrible father." As I cried and kept apologizing, Michael tightened his embrace slightly. "It's okay. I knew you were trying your best. That's why I don't hate you, Dad. How much have you endured? It's okay to say you were lonely or ask why I left you. You have every right to blame me. Even though I let you go, I never stopped thinking about you. I was always sorry, always apologizing in my heart. I kept thinking about our happy memories together. I'm a pathetic father. You can be angry at me for that, but despite my words, Michael said, "It's all right, really. I might not have achieved anything if things had stayed the same." He held me gently, his whole body trembling. Just from that, I could tell how lonely and anxious he must have been. After I lost consciousness, Michael had this conversation with a nurse. "We need to run tests quickly." "No, tests aren't needed. His blood type is AB negative. Prepare immediately." The nurse shouted, "How do you know that?" And Michael simply replied, "Because he's my father. His name is Brown, same as mine." "I see. We'll prepare right away. I didn't want to meet under these circumstances, but I'm glad I found you. I'll save you, Dad." Without knowing any of this, I had been asleep. "Thank you. I'm so glad you've grown up so well. I'm just happy you're alive and well." I could only repeat those words through my tears. Michael responded, "It's enough for me just to see you." That's all I needed. After crying together for a while, I said, "I didn't expect you to become a doctor. I thought you might work with animals or do something different. I'm so proud of you." Michael, with a humble smile, replied, "It's because you always told me I was smart and good with my hands, Dad. And because I really wanted to see you again, I pursued this path. I was determined to see you, so I focused on my studies from elementary school. I even got scholarships that didn't need to be paid back. That's how, even growing up in a facility, I managed to become a doctor. Being in an environment where I could work hard allowed me to save your life. I've never been happier to be a doctor than I am now. I felt like I finally got to meet you. I put my all into that operation. Dad, let's live together. Don't leave me again." That was Michael's heartfelt cry. It was the genuine feelings of Michael, who had endured so much since he was little, trying not to trouble us, holding back, and enduring. Now that I can earn my own money, I can finally say it. I'm sorry for making you endure so much. For making you endure so much when you were so young. Michael, to whom I kept apologizing, said, "Dad, let's live together when you're discharged. Please, don't leave my side again. I didn't think I deserved that. That's my happiness. Don't just apologize. This time, please listen to my request." After hearing such words from Michael, whom I had never forgotten even for a moment, I had no reason to refuse. Since then, I've been living with Michael in his large condo. There, I discovered a shocking fact. Actually, ever since I became an elementary school student, Mom has been coming to see me occasionally. She thought I didn't notice, but I did. Is that so? Mary must have also felt guilt for leaving Michael due to financial reasons. But she only watched from a distance where she thought I wouldn't see her. So I couldn't run to her. Still, knowing that my mother was always there during important moments was a great support for me. Though it was very lonely not being able to go near her. Looking at Michael, who averted his eyes, all I could say was, "I'm sorry." But then, Michael said something even more surprising. "Hey, Can we use a detective agency to find out where Mom is and see if she can live with us here? It depends on how she feels, though. Really? But Michael, are you sure about this? Michael nodded with a smile. Since then, we've been living together, and Mary occasionally comes to visit. Although Michael has grown into a fine man, when talking with us, he still seems a bit like his younger self. He has a laugh just like mine and a face just like Mary's. Seeing Michael's happy face makes me very happy. That's all thanks to Michael's continuous efforts. There may be little I can do now, but from now on, I just want to keep watching his happy smile.